Спасибо. Мы сегодня продолжаем серию вебинаров нашей сети Skills Lab Network of Experts. И сегодня у нас очень интересная тема — зеленые навыки для перехода к зеленой экономике в странах Центральной Азии и рассмотрение лучших международных практик. Эта тема тоже давно назревала. Мы хотели вместе с нашими коллегами из Украины в региональном контексте это рассмотреть. Потом эта тема обрела новую жизнь. Мы познакомились с другими международными экспертами. И когда мы узнали, что в мире много делается очень полезного и интересного, мы решили пригласить этих международных экспертов. И, пользуясь случаем, я хотел бы выразить свою благодарность за их время, за то, что они согласились сегодня поделиться своим опытом. Сегодня будет лучшая практика со стороны международных организаций, со стороны академии и со стороны международных частных организаций, корпораций. Не задерживая дальше время, я хотел бы предоставить слово Кристиане Буржу, нашей коллеге из ETF. Это международный координатор нашего проекта ETF Skills Lab Network of Experts. Это Европейский фонд образования, проект сети лабораторий экспертов. Кристиане Буржу, вам слово. Спасибо.
Good morning,
Извиняюсь,
everyone.
Кристиана. Один момент хотел бы просто подчеркнуть. У кого с английским можете переключить перевод, нажать на перевод, где есть перевод, и там есть перевод на русский язык. Можно сразу слышать перевод. Спасибо. Sorry, Кристиан. Go ahead, please.
No problem. Good to underline that we are having interpretation so that everybody can follow smoothly the webinar today. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. It is very nice to see you today. For those who do not know me, I'm Cristiana. I work for the European Training Foundation, and I'm coordinating, as Bakit was saying, the activities of this network, the Skills Lab Network of Experts. This network was launched in 2021 in order to create a platform of researchers in the field of skills demand and skills anticipation to discuss and go through together on how skills are changing. Today, the network has reached over 400 members, and we participate together with members. We organize thematic webinars, peer learning activities, peer visits. We organize and call joint research proposals, and we also organize every year a live event. A live event for 2024 was held in Torino in the beginning of October, and it focused on the colors of economy. We explored different scenarios based on colors, including green economy with a focus on circular. Today, we are going to focus on green skills for transition to a green economy. It is today's webinar, of the regional activities that we organize within the network with a strong support from Bakit, the regional facilitator for Central Asia for the network. And the focus has been proposed by the members from this region. ETF is strongly committed on green skills, to the transition to a greener and cleaner world, which is an enormous challenge, but a pressing priority for all. To get there, green skills are required, the skills people need to work in occupations which are sustainable. ETF is running a number of activities in the field of green skills. Just to quote some example, we have a Green Skills Award, which is a call for success stories, which highlight the role of education, training, and skills in support of a green transition. We have an initiative called Greta, which helps vocational education to go greener. We provide policy advice to governments and stakeholders in the regions neighboring the European Union, including in skills development for the green transition. Specifically, our aim is to really support the interaction between the education systems and their environments in order to build skills ecosystems which are integrated with the changes and with the greening strategies. I don't want to take too much time. Today we will have also my colleague Romain Boitard as the first speaker of the webinar. Is our lead expert on green skills. I'm happy to give the floor back to Bakit so that he will introduce you to the different speakers. Thank you.
Спасибо, Кристиана, спасибо большое. Следующий спикер, у нас два спикера подряд. Это господин Ромейн Бойтард, это эксперт по развитию человеческого капитала, координатор по вопросам зеленого перехода ETF. Он выступит на тему «Молодежь, восприятие устойчивого развития и возможности зеленой занятости». Презентация Ромейн на 10 минут, пожалуйста. И сессия вопросов-ответов 5 минут. Пожалуйста, коллеги, можно задать вопросы сразу после презентации, либо можете в чате написать свой вопрос. Спасибо.
Good morning, dear colleagues. It's a pleasure to be here. There's very little time, so I'll jump straight into the subject. And if I can ask Ada to put up my presentation. Sorry. Right. Okay. So today I'm going to briefly report back to you on a survey that ETF conducted with UNICEF, where we asked young people in the region of Eastern Europe and Central Asia how they felt about the green transition, about green skills, about the green economy. And we'll go straight into the results because they are very interesting for the work we all do. Next slide, please. So this is the report, which you can now download and read for yourself, but I'll quickly take you through some of the results. It was conducted over this summer. We had over 40,000 respondents. It's the tool that was used is called UReport, which is one of UNICEF tools, which is extremely convenient. So ETF designed the questions and UNICEF got the responses. Next slide, please. So what do we find? When we ask young people, where did you learn about climate change and in your community? The large majority, as you can see on your screen now, over 60%, almost 70% responded that they learn mostly from social media. Just half answered that they learn from their school programs, which is a really interesting finding, which we can interpret in different ways. Possibly the fact that young people want to know more, but do not get it in school, so they go to the social media to find out more. This means that there is basically not enough of the subject being covered in schools. Next slide, please. This question was designed to see whether young people understand the complexity of climate action and whether they have a technocratic approach to the subjects, meaning will electric cars and solar panels and energy-saving buildings fix the problem? Many of them are neutral. Few of them disagree, and we'll see later that this actually says a lot about how they feel about the subject, and most importantly, how much they know, because for people who learn more about this subject, quickly you understand that the technological responses are part of the answer, but are not all of it. We cannot address climate change only by substituting current technology with green technology. Next slide, please. So here we ask young people, how do you feel? Do you think that your school prepares you for the green economy? You can see the answers for yourself. About a third said no. Just over a third said somewhat, yes, no, maybe. Clearly, there is a lack of confidence in the knowledge that they acquire. Next slide, please. Here, this is interesting. This is a question related to responsibility. So we see, we ask young people who is responsible. First and foremost, the national governments, just under 30%, and then international organization, and then much less regional, local, and governments, environmental NGOs, and so on. Luckily, under 60% responded that they think it's a collective responsibility, which is the answer we were looking for. But this says a lot about how young people perceive responsibility. You see at the end, when we ask you personally, only 13% responded positively. Next slide, please. So here it was a follow-up question where we ask young people, do you trust and do you feel that your government is going to follow through with its promises? And here, very tellingly, over a third of respondents explained that they're not confident at all. And the other 30% said only a little confident. So this is a very important finding, which is similar in the rest of the world, but it tells us a lot about how young people feel. Next slide, please. And here was the question to understand whether young people feel engaged in climate action discussions, in climate policies, and whatever is decided by their governments. Do they feel they were involved and engaged in the consultations, in the discussions? And we see that just under half of people think that no, it's not enough. Next slide, please. Yeah, so now that we've seen the results, I want to take a couple of minutes just to explain why does it matter? Why is it important that we understand these findings and we consider these findings as we discuss the subject and take action? Next slide, please. So first, why should we consider the voice of young people when we enter a climate action discussion? Some people may genuinely ask that question. Well, what is the role of young people in climate action and climate policies? Well, if you look at this graph, you understand very quickly that there is an intergenerational issue here, because the young people are going to lose most from inaction. Meaning that if we don't do anything today or not enough done today, they will suffer from the consequences. The decisions we take today will have an impact on their entire life, whereas for us adults, it will be much shorter. So it's only fair that their aspirations and their preferences are taken into consideration today, because it's their life that is affected, much less than ours. Next slide, please. And also, what we know, and science has shown repeatedly, is that youth are less attached to traditional thinking. They're more likely to critically engage in systems thinking. They're more likely to agree to bold solutions. And they often possess a greater, it's called cognitive flexibility. And so this helps them come up with new ideas and be less resistant to disruptive change. They help us take better decisions. Next slide, please. There's also the political dimension. If young people are engaged in civic activities and participate in the democratic life of a country, this contributes to the social capital theory, where you strengthen the democratic process and you build accountability between generations, something that is very important for a quality democratic life. Next slide, please. Yeah, here we look at some of the, this is a scientific report that looked at what gives confidence to young people in terms of climate action. And we see that the green arrow represents the let's say, the negative features of their perceptions, and the arrow on top is what we want to achieve. Interestingly, if you look at what it says on the arrow pointing down, these are basically the findings that we found in the survey. And what we want through education and skills development is to ensure we achieve the features that are on the top here. And early exposure to climate education helps with that. Thank you. One more minute. I'll be quick. Please, next slide. Here is a survey that was conducted not by ETF. This was the World Economic Forum, where they asked multinationals around the world, what will you be doing in terms of strategy from 23 to 27? So this gives you a good idea of what multinationals and large businesses are intending to do in the next couple of years. And you can see on the top very clearly that they are going in the direction of sustainability, looking at their environmental responsibility, adopting green technology, et cetera, These all have impacts on the skilling requirements of future graduates, showing, and I show this slide to explain that unless we help young people develop green skills as part of their profile, they won't be able to get jobs in the future. So apart from the democratic principle, the social capital, the intergenerational equity, there's also the labor market preparation. Next slide, please. So education clearly is very important if we want to address climate change. In its broadest meaning, what we mean by education is to achieve a profound long-term change in how people understand and appreciate climate change. And this in turn leads to greater national action. And I will leave it there in view of the time left, but I'm ready to take any questions that may have come up. Thank you very much.
Спасибо, Ромейн. Спасибо большое. Так, коллеги, есть ли вопросы? Участники, дорогие, пожалуйста, если есть, можете поднять руку и задать. Если нет, я тогда на правах модератора, как говорится, задам первый вопрос. Андрей, вы хотите, да, задать? Пожалуйста, вы тогда потом, после вас я, если время останется.
Thanks, Romain, for great presentation. I can tell you, I can just comment. I have a brief comment. We have done several also public opinion surveys in Ukraine on climate change, including last in May, I think, or April this year, face-to-face interviews, etc. And I can tell you that the youth in general in Ukraine is less concerned about the environmental protection and climate change compared to other groups, elderly, women, etc. And I think this is the one of the biggest challenges that the society has. We have this myth, we call it a myth, that youth is more pro-environmental, is more progressive. When you go and ask, this is not the case. The older people have expressed more concerns and more beliefs in their role in the environmental protection. They feel more exposed to the climate change impacts, etc. So thank you very much. This largely correlates to what we have also found in our country by face-to-face interviews.
Спасибо, спасибо. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrei.
Вы хотите что-то ответить или? Ромейн, такой вопрос.
Yeah, briefly to complement that, thank you, Andrei. What I did not mention, because 10 minutes is really short, but we did, because the survey was conducted in multiple countries. Of course, we found country variations, and there's some countries where the perceptions are stronger than others. We see age differences, we see gender differences. Sometimes it's girls are more aware than men, and sometimes it's the other way around. There's really lots of country variation. What I presented was an overview of the trends, but naturally, countries are very different, and the context matters a lot, including the quality of the education system. We can correlate the quality of the education system with awareness. So maybe for a next meeting, I can present again and show you the country variations, and it includes Ukraine also. So thank you for your comment. Yes.
Спасибо, Ромейн. Я смотрю, нет пока вопросов. Я тогда позлоупотребляю своим положением. Такой вопрос. Ромейн, вы в своей презентации отметили, что молодежь большую информацию, порцию информации об изменении климата получает через социальные сети. И на втором месте у вас стоит школы, да, учебные заведения. А потом вы говорили о том, что тоже ваши исследования показывают о том, что у студентов, школьников нету большого доверия государственным органам. Вот такой вопрос, такой, I would like to challenge you, да? Как быть в таких ситуациях с учителям из государственных школ? Вот как они должны взаимодействовать с школьниками, со студентами, зная, что очень мало доверия, но в то же время они стремятся получить информацию как раз-таки в этих заведениях. Спасибо.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think many people are asking themselves. We certainly don't have the answer, but I can share my views on that. I think the young people go to social media not because they prefer social media, but because there's not enough in school. So the consideration would be to increase the amount of climate awareness and environmental awareness in the school programs. But also help young people build their digital skills, and notably the ability to critically assess the content that you find on social media. Because if you learn about climate on TikTok and Instagram, you will get limited at some point, as we all appreciate. And this clearly is something that we need to help young people with, to be better at critically assessing the quality of what they get online. When it comes to teachers, and maybe that didn't come clearly in my slides, but what I was trying to do is that if you engage young people in consultations, in policy discussions, in community actions, that builds their confidence on the subject, and that builds the accountability. So the more you involve them, the less likely they are to say, oh, well, the government is not going to achieve this. They say that because they don't know. I didn't present all the questions, but there was another question on how much do you know about what your government intends to do? And in most cases, young people are just not aware. So if governments through schools, but not only, can engage more young people, explain more what is climate action, what is my country doing about it, what can I do at my level, what can I do at my community level, I think the feelings of distance would certainly be reduced. And this is one way that we can achieve that.
Спасибо, спасибо. Я тогда, Андрей, у нас времени чуть-чуть мало. Давайте я вам предоставлю слово как раз-таки по программе. Вы идете следующим. Уважаемые участники, хотел бы предоставить слово господину Андрею Андрусевичу, ресурсно-аналитический центр общества и окружающая среда Украина. Тема презентации «Перспективы зеленых рабочих мест во Львовской и Волынской областях Украины». Пожалуйста, Андрей, 10 минут вам засекаю, и потом 5 минут на вопросы и ответы. Спасибо.
Thank you very much. 10 minutes. Now, My intention today is to present a study that we have done on green jobs, on analyzing, assessing the green jobs potential in 2 regions in Ukraine, in Lviv, my region, and Volyn region, which are the oblasts in Ukraine. We also did a similar study for Vinnytsia city, which is one of the regional cities in Ukraine, but I will not touch upon this today. This study was done with several partners, including the GIZ, who funded this, and the Institute of Professional Qualifications. I want to mention the institute today because I want to focus on a few elements of this study. And without the cooperation with the institute, I think it would be hard to do that. The study that we did was, the purpose was to assess the potential of green jobs in 2 regions in Ukraine. These are the coal regions, in the context of the just transition, since we want these 2 regions to stop relying on extraction of coal. The study itself included 4 elements, and today I will focus only on 2. The first one was, the core element was the assessment of the current number of green jobs in the regions. We also additionally analyzed the potential of the regions to create more green jobs. We also looked separately at the educational sector, universities, vocational schools, colleges, and we also look at the experience of other countries. Today, I will focus only on 2 elements. The first one, the assessment of the current number of green jobs, and the educational, I will touch upon the educational sector. Now, about the assessment itself, there are basically 2 ways to assess how many green jobs are there in a region or in a country. The first one is result-oriented. It is used by the European Union, and it is done on macro level for a country, not for a region or for a city. It cannot be done on this level. The idea is that if an entity, let's say a factory, produces green or environmental, as they are called, environmental goods or services, all people involved in the production of these environmental goods and services are green jobs. So they are employed within the green jobs. This is how the EU is doing this, so based on the result. In practice, that means that we have not used this approach in Ukraine. I can tell you that the assessment that we've done has never been done at all in Ukraine. This is the first time such a study was done. How many green jobs are there? We used a second approach, which is also used by the International Labour Organization, and the origins are within the United States. It's so-called process-oriented. Basically, it means if the person is employed, works somewhere, in a school, in a factory, anywhere, and the job, the work of this person as it relates to the environmental protection, this is a green job. I mean, I'm simplifying, of course, but that in practice, that means it doesn't matter where the person works, but what the person does at his or her job position. Now, for Ukraine, what has been done, we have obtained the data from the State Pension Fund of Ukraine on all employed persons in the region, because they pay taxes, and this is how we can see them. So basically, we know the gender, we know the economic activity in AC code of the employer, of the factory or school, of the legal, where the person works. And we basically equalize the job position with the meaning of a job. So we know from this information which has been provided, what is the job position of a person, gender, salary, and which economic sector the employer, the organization where the person works is. And this is, we've got this data, millions of data. Just in my region, we have 800,000 persons employed. So for each person, you have a number of data for several years, and that's millions of data. And this was the basis. Then how we calculated. Then we looked at the job positions. Each job position, there is a methodology for that. It can be qualified as a green or brown or black. And for the green job positions, you also can get the greenness, how green that job position is. For example, you can have a managerial position, let's say a vice director for development, and half of the time the person spends on sustainable development, on investments, and the other time just managing the personnel. So you can say, I'm roughly explaining that 50% of this job is green and the rest is not green, and that's how you can assess the greenness of the jobs. Now, this is about the methodology. I spent so much time explaining this because I think it can be easily used in any other country or in any other region, and more importantly, on a regional level. So you can look at the city, you can look at the region or sub-region, rayon, whatever. Now, the key outcomes, and this is the policy side of this, was we were able to estimate the number of green jobs in the region. For example, for Lviv region, we have almost 100,000 green jobs, which is 13% of all persons employed, which is a good number, comparable to some neighboring regions, for example, in Poland or in Romania. We could also find very interesting things where those green jobs are. For example, whether it's market activities or manufacturing activities or non-market, which is public service activities, etc. We could also look, this is how the distribution is done for several sectors, and the economic activity groups are similar, I'm sure, in Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, because they are all the same, more or less, in different countries. And that gives a lot of information. That gives a lot of information on gender aspects. For example, you can see that the women are underrepresented in green jobs, especially technical jobs. Now, we also did the same study for the Volyn region. I will skip that because the methodology and the policy outcomes are the same. And we also look at the occupations themselves. For example, one of the findings was that there are only 22 occupations which provide most of the green jobs, and that at this stage the green jobs are only partially skilled, and a lot of green jobs are basically very simple, unskilled occupations.
2 more minutes.
2 more minutes. And that gives a lot of information to the regional authorities, to the international partners, where we are and what can we do. And additionally, we looked at the educational sector. And I can tell you this is one of the interesting challenges, because there are green jobs emerging, quite a number of them already created. The business wants people, but the educational service is stuck in the past. And for example, they've been preparing cooks for years, and they continue to prepare 1,000 cooks per year, but people need engineers for installing solar panels in the business. And this gap is visible, very, very, very well visible. The same with the universities or with the vocational education. So this gives a lot of information to the regional national government. How do you support the green jobs, including by the educational system? Now, I think that's all I wanted to say. If you have more questions, let me know. I will be glad to answer.
Thank you very much, Андрей. Спасибо большое. Коллеги тут обратились ко мне как модератору. Дело в том, что у нас следующий спикер по времени очень опаздывает на лекцию, очень важную. Поэтому мы решили вопросы для Андрея задать в конце. Мы обязательно вернемся к вашей презентации, Андрей. И слово передать сразу же следующему спикеру, господину Tamer.
Bucket, you are muted.
Thank you very much.
Bakit. And I would like to also extend my sincere thanks for this organization, for both Vakti and also Christina, and also all the team of ETF. And one more thanks for Henri, just paying patience to wait my presentation. Okay, I would like to share my presentation first, and then I would like to just continue. So let's try to share first. I think it's coming in a minute.
Пока презентация открывается, я хотел бы быстренько представить доктор Тамер Атабарут. Я очень извиняюсь, технические неполадки. Доктор Тамер Атабарут является директором Института об окружающей среде университета Буазичи, Босфорский университет из Турции. И презентация роли университетов для зеленого перехода и зеленых навыков. Пожалуйста, доктор Атабарут.
Thank you once more for giving the floor to me. Yeah, I'm a professor at Boğaziçi University, Istanbul, Turkey. And also I'm affiliated with some professional bodies like UNSTSN, which is a network among the universities and research centers. It's a global network. And also I'm in the steering committee member of European Universities Continuing Education Network and International Association for Continuing Engineering Education. So in all those professional bodies, we are also discussing the green transition and green skills. So far, all of the bodies are paying more attention to those issues. But what is the rationale behind this? Why do we need those green skills? Is it an urgent issue or not? So we have to just analyze this in a closer lens. And when we are making this analysis, we need also some data which are just produced by the science-based researchers. So first, I would like to start with this, the rationale behind the green transition and green skills very rapidly. And then I will concentrate on the roles of the universities for this transition. So actually, we are in a triple planetary crisis. So the scientists are putting the current situation in the world as the crisis, and they are defined as a triple planetary crisis. And the first crisis is, we all know that this is the climate crisis. So it is well known, I think, mostly accepted not only by the experts, but also by the public. So we are suffering from the climate crisis, and there are lots of research are ongoing, and many reports were just released. And according to the recent report released by the UNEP, it's just showing that there is a big gap for the controlling the greenhouse gases. So if we will continue to just pollute the environment, if we will continue to just emit the greenhouse gases as it is, so it is seen that we are going to reach 3.1 degrees Celsius higher than the average Celsius degrees is. So what the Paris Agreement put forward is to control this global warming as 1.5 degrees Celsius, but according to the recent studies, it is shown that we are going to exceed this threshold. So we are expecting that it means that with the climate crisis, we will expose more water stress, we will expose more global warming, and there will be also anomalies in terms of the precipitation. So actually, we have been realizing this in the different parts of the world nowadays also. Another issue, another crisis is the biodiversity loss. And another report which was prepared by WWF is just showing that there is a big declination of the habitat in the 50 years perspective. So we lost 73% in the just 50 years. So this is another alarm for our humanity and for a big risk for our future. The third the crisis is defined as the environmental pollution. So Also, there are lots of data are showing that we are generating lots of waste, and then we are just giving them to the environment, and we are just collapsing the stability equilibrium of the ecology. So the UN Secretary General, for instance, make a statement from time to time how it is critical. And in one of his speeches, he just mentioned that every year we are just losing 9 million people. So it's a huge number that they are just dying due to the pollution. On the other hand, the amount of the waste generation is increasing. We are just having more than 2 billion tons of municipal solid waste, so it's a global issue. And also another mass is the plastics and the radioactive material. So those are the general outlook. Why do we need for the green skills? So from this point of view, what would be the solution for this? Of course, when we are just focusing on the solutions, we should not only concentrate on the environmental issues. So there's also another huge mass related with the inequality in terms of the income. So socio-economical conditions are not also in a good way, and they are also putting lots of pressure over the peace, over the future of the planet, and so we are all suffering from this. I think this is another issue that we have to tackle, these socio-economical conditions. So 2/3 of the globes are just suffering from this inequality. And we all know that around 600 million people are going to their bed with hunger. So these huge numbers are also putting in front of us that besides the environmental concerns, we have to also focus on the social and economical issues. So those are all in the scope of the green skills. Not all, I want to just underline that the green skills is not only paying attention or not paving our future related with the environment, but they are also contributing our socio-economical conditions. And as a solution, we are in a period of transition. So it is also called as twin transition, like digital transition and the green transition. We should work all together, and we have to end up to achieve the SDGs actually. But although the target for the SDGs is the 2030, they are not on the track, and only 16% of them are on the track, according to the UNSCSN's recent report. So this is also giving another alarm for us. So in this perspective, the key features of the sustainability and green skills are in a broader way, but they are very interconnected. So it is also covering the economy, society, and also the environment, not only the environment, I mean. So they are also defined in the green competences and green skills, which were just defined by the EU. Not I'm going to give too much time for them and then skip, but I would like to concentrate about the roles of the university. So first of all, as the universities, we have to conduct the research. So those research should be end up with some solutions for the sustainable development, of course. So we need the research centers and also universities for the solutions to those the problems. And later on, we have to integrate the SDGs, for instance, to our curricula. So that should be our way to just handle the SDGs and to embed to our curricula in general, not only in one department, not only in one faculty, to our in general curricula in a holistic approach. Then we have to educate the students on sustainable development issues and also the solutions, because they are going to transform every sector in the future, because the students are going to be graduate and they are going to be part of the professional life. So we need also environmental, sustainable, and socially inclusive campuses. We need them. So we have to also transform our university facilities, and we have to contribute industry and policymaking process, and we have to provide the UADL programs. As just mentioned that there are also a gap in the education and training for reaching the green skills. So there's a big role for the universities. But while we are doing this, we have to collaborate. As it was defined in the SDG 17, we need more collaboration and more cooperation. And one of them is, as an example, is this UN SDSN, which is also a good combination and network of the universities. So in general, as a concluding remarks, that I would like to say that the climate crisis and all this transformation are just transforming the economy, and the impacts of the economy are changing, and it's bringing a substantial change to our society, the way of our life, and also employment opportunities are changing. And we all know that, we can all accept that there's skills gap. And though the industry is just complaining, the education institutions are complaining, but there's a skills gap. It's a reality. So we need more qualified labor. So we need for more education. And for this education, we need some more flexible education. Not only the formal education is needed, but we need a lifelong learning approach in order to just prepare the market for the green skills. And also the European Skills Agenda is also putting the steps for this. So as just a few remarks before ending, I think we need a holistic approach for the sustainable solutions. So there are three dimensions of it: environmental, social, and economical. Therefore, we are going to concentrate in one measure, of course, but in general, we have to expose our students, and we have to equip our students with the environmental, social, and the economical dimensions behind their jobs. Not only train them just focusing only deeply to one measure. So we have to give them a more holistic approach, and therefore, as the universities, we have lots of tasks to fulfill this requirement. So indeed, this is in general presentation from my side. If any interventions, any comments and questions, I will be pleased to take them. Thank you for this opportunity once more.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you. Есть ли вопросы, уважаемые участники? Я вот смотрю, в чате есть один вопрос. There is a question, Dr. Atabarut. I think you mentioned about the curriculum on
Is it in English?
Yeah, is there a curriculum at your university?
Yes, I have seen Ansel. Is there a curriculum at your university on SDG implementation? For instance, I'm giving
about your university. It's about you, Boğaziçi University. Do you have a curriculum on SDG?
Yeah, I got the question. Okay, indeed, we don't have a embedded curricula in all departments. Unfortunately, we cannot realize yet. It is still at the Senate, but we are opening many elective courses which are open to different departments. For instance, this semester I am giving a sustainable development course, and there are more than 100 students are enrolled there. Another colleague from my institute is giving a similar course, and another 100 of students are there. But in general, we have almost 14 to 15,000 of students at undergraduate level. So not all of them are taking those courses. So it should be our the main focus, how we can embed to their curricula. So if we just leave an elective, some of them are taking and some of them are not taking. So thank you for this question.
Thank you.
Another question about how we can realize the green skills at our university. Indeed, there are some guidelines for this. For instance, as STSN, we prepared a guideline for the climate action. So I may share with you later on. So it is also putting the steps and how would be the procedure. But first of all, there should be the engagement starting from the top level. I mean, the rector's office should also realize the issue, and then they have to highlight this. Fortunately, in our university, our rector's office is giving a support to this works. So it should start from the first top administration level, and then we have to create a strategy, the policy papers, and also the action plans related with this in order to transform the university as a green campus. But in the same manner, we have to also adapt the skills into the curricula in each department.
Okay, thank you very much, доктор Атабарут. Уважаемые участники, у нас по программе есть перерыв 5-минутный, мы его не забыли. Спасибо всем за активное участие. Пожалуйста, буквально 5 минут для того, чтобы попили кофе и попили воду. И мы буквально со свежими силами вернемся обратно и продолжим. Там есть 3 презентации, очень интересные, поэтому я всех призываю обратно возвратиться через 5 минут и продолжить наш вебинар. Спасибо всем. Увидимся через 5 минут. Всем снова здравствуйте. Надеюсь, вы успели попить чай, сделать разминку для глаз, взбодриться, как говорится. Следующий спикер представит нам очень интересную презентацию. Вы знали, что у всемирно известной компании Schneider Electric есть такая программа образования молодежи и предпринимательства. Есть глобальная гендерная стратегия. Вот сегодня у нас в гостях госпожа Марва Хамад. Она сделает нам презентацию на тему «Стратегия справедливого энергетического перехода, программа образования и предпринимательства молодежи». Всем все слышно, да? Перевод идет, все нормально. Тогда предоставляю слово Марва вам. Marva, floor is yours. Thank you very much. You are muted. We cannot hear you. No. No, we cannot hear you. Christiana, can you hear Marva? Maybe it's
Now.
me. Now it's okay.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Then it's
Yeah.
not working good. Okay, perfect. No worries. Can you please
Thank you.
confirm my screen? Can you see the screen? Share it on my side.
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
So, thank you so much, Vakit, for the invitation and for coordinating and all the effort that you made to have us here today. And thank you so much, the European Training Foundation, for this amazing network of experts. So to give you a brief on myself, as Vakit just mentioned, I am leading the global gender strategy for corporate citizenship for Schneider Electric Foundation under the Youth Education and Entrepreneurship Program. The main objective of it is actually breaking barriers and building bridges in order to address the skills gap and also gender disparities in order to shape a just, inclusive, and sustainable energy transition. So moving forward, I will also add some data to what Professor Tamer mentioned. What are the global challenges that we aim to target with our program? First, the fact that 1 out of 5 youth are out of education, employment, or training, and also reflecting this on the number of girls. And I believe it will be very beneficial to review Roman's research. Thank you so much, Roman, for sharing, to also know the gender disparities within the green skills and climate awareness and education. Secondly, it's the skills gap. Actually, it's a challenge, but also we can transform it into an opportunity because we have 139 million new jobs that will be generated worldwide by 2030. So we need to fill it or to have skilled workforce to work on it. And then moving forward, we have the gender disparities as well. As in the energy workforce, we have only 24% of women. And for the STEM positions, we only have 29%. So moving forward, just to give you an idea about the corporate citizenship or corporate social responsibility of Schneider Electric and how did it all start. So actually it started back in 1929 with École Schneider in France, and the main objective was to provide high quality education and training to youth, ranging ages from 18 to 22. So the main idea was to provide the skills and knowledge to be a skilled workforce. And then moving forward, Schneider Electric Foundation was founded, and today we are celebrating 25 years of Schneider Electric Foundation. And also it was focused on vocational training and energy and programs and partnership with different entities. And then back in 2009, we've noted that there is an underinvestment in the vocational education and training program. That's why the Youth Education and Entrepreneurship Program was initiated. So the main idea is to work on youth empowerment in order to achieve climate justice, energy transition, and global economic growth. So moving forward, we have 3 main missions to achieve. First, to provide youth with the opportunities by accessing vocational education and training. And secondly, to access skills for the future, and those skills we will go through it in details, but the main idea is to provide technical and soft and transversal skills and access to green and circular economy knowledge in order to be able to implement what they learned in the vocational training phase. And finally, it's the fact that we are creating an ecosystem in order to have it supportive for entrepreneurs and to encourage innovation as well. So basically, we are supporting youth through education and entrepreneurship in order for them to take part and lead the energy transition. So moving forward, we set 3 main objectives for ourselves. The first one is to achieve 1 million youth trained by 2025, and we are almost there. You can see that the number that we have by the moment is 7,000, over 7,000, 700,000 youth trained. And the second objective is to achieve 10K trainers trained, because in order to deliver this knowledge, we need trainers to have it in the first place. And it's what was mentioned also by Tamer on having or qualifying the educators and teachers in the first place. And the third objective is to have entrepreneurs supported. We had also 10K, but we already exceeded it now. So as you can see, this is our Q3, and this is our international coverage in the countries. And after this call, we aim really to have new partnerships to have more impact in Central Asia. And on the left, you can see the access is now for 60 countries and partnership with over 400 partners. So moving forward, how does it work? So for example, if you aim to collaborate with Schneider Electric in order to provide vocational training or access to green skills for youth. So what we do, we have the Youth Education and Entrepreneurship Program. We actually partner with local nonprofit organizations, with educational institutions, maybe universities, schools, or technical centers. And we also have the government support. So we have many alignments with governmental entities. For example, we are working on greening curriculums in Indonesia. And we also have the international organizations. So what are the main criteria in order for this program to be successful? First, we need to have, it needs to be electricity or energy transition related. And also it needs to be a minimum of 120 hours. So out of the 1 million youth that we are counting, they need to have each a minimum of 120 hours of training. So it's not like a 2 day training, it's counted by hours and the skills that they get qualified by. And also, they need to be in a specific technical level, like maximum 3 years after E-level. And the youth that we are targeting should have low access to training or employment. And in some cases, if they are still students, it's also included in our programs. So this is our operational overview if you aim to collaborate with Matter for one of your projects. And then moving forward, this is our action plan, how we move forward in order to fill the skills gap, as well as have the energy transition just. So those are the main pillars: educate, energize, and empower in order to transform youth to impact makers. And those are the SDGs that we are following. But moving forward, I will give you more details on this. So this is our framework breakdown. We start first by education in order to bridge the skills gap. And how we do it, we have technical education, or it's education for tech students, and education for non-tech students. So first, the energy technical training, it's vocational training, electricity on industrial automation and renewable energy curriculums. We provide digital training on, as I mentioned, like training of trainers and on didactic benches and so on. And we also have for non-tech students, it's a new skills for the future program under the Youth Education and Entrepreneurship. And what we provide is climate awareness, carbon footprint knowledge, recycling, and e-waste. This is offered to students who are like in traditional education. So it was very important to collaborate with schools in order to raise awareness about this green skills. And also, alongside with the climate awareness, we also provide leadership and mentorship and creativity and problem solving in order for this youth to know how to utilize the knowledge that we're provided. So this is the first pillar. But then moving forward, it doesn't stop here on this, like the education. We need to give them the hands-on experience. They need to have a field visit to the factory to know how to do it themselves, and also have the practical knowledge. And we also provide entrepreneurship courses like financial literacy, business management, because even if they finish the program and they don't want to get hired at a company or to work themselves, and they want to have their own electricity stores and working on it, then they can be skilled or empowered by the skills required for this. And what like this is for tech students who are ready to work now. But what about students in university and schools? What we provide is activity-based learning. We ask them to design prototypes, and those prototypes can be implemented and transformed into social innovation businesses. And I will show you a success stories on it now.
2 more minutes.
Perfect. Thank you, Bakit. So after actually the energize pillar, we empower. How we empower? We build a supportive ecosystem. And this is the main objective why we are participating here in this call today, because raising awareness about the topic and the responsibility of companies and corporates and governments as well, and empowering youth, actually, it's the main idea of building a network that can support youth and collaborate together in order to create specialized partnerships. And we also have the youth inclusion in the decision-making through the field work that we are doing. We have the engagement of the employees and volunteering and mentoring those youth. And we also provide the funding opportunities in case they want to implement their projects or they want to have their own entrepreneurial business. And then advocacy and success stories, and also impact measurements, which I will be explaining at the end. So this is one example of a collaboration that we have with Plan International. It's an NGO, and also the European Union with Schneider Electric Foundation. So what is the main idea of this program? It's a solar energy program in Senegal, Mali, Niger. And the main objective is to empower women for clean energy transition, as well as empowering them to gain their life. So the project had 3 main phases. First, the training. So we provided technical centers, and it trained 7K women on solar energy. But it doesn't stop there, because we provided the training, but now they cannot access work because they have electrification issue in the region and those specific villages that we targeted in the 3 regions. So what we did, we installed 6 microgrids as well to provide electrification to these regions. And finally, now we have women who want to access funding or want to access income despite the cultural boundaries that they are facing, and also the stereotypes around women working as electricians or technicians. So what we did, Now we are funding and supporting 8,000 small and medium enterprises in solar energy. So they work on solar lanterns, mini grids installations, and so on. So this is how we do it, by having the microcredit loans. Those are the main 3 steps, but how is it implemented in real life? What is the role of each partner? So for example, we have Plan International. Plan International is specialized in women empowerment. So they raise awareness, they access the community, and they speak with the women to get enrolled in the first place, because it wasn't an easy challenge to convince women, to convince their families, actually to allocate time to get this education and to prove the efficiency of this education. And then moving forward, they also worked on the microcredit loans. What is a specific loan that's needed for women to have her own store? It's also need to have this local knowledge on the women needs. And then moving forward, Schneider Electric provided the renewable energy solutions training, because we're experts in the field. We have the training for trainees and also infrastructures of the equipment itself in the factory to provide this training. And then we had the government and research, the quality assurance and research bodies who provided, like here you can see some names of research institutions, which is also a very important partner for impact measurement. And finally, the governmental institutions, in order to have those women certified as technicians. So this is the first example. The second example is a worldwide also a program. It's called Conserve My Planet, and it's actually provided to youth in school. So here you can see, for example, it's an activity-based learning curriculum on environmental conservation. So we have the Conserve Energy, to educate youth on reducing waste, increasing efficiency, and use renewable energy, and also conserve environment. So how to save disposable of e-waste and how to recycle and reuse products. So we've achieved so far 103 green ambassadors impacted, like youth who became green ambassadors in India, and over 1,000 schools. And the main idea that after giving them the education or the knowledge that they need on the climate awareness, we ask them to create their own prototypes in a national competition for schools. And it's very nice, like they create prototypes of houses with solar panels and so on, because now they have the awareness. And actually, what's very interesting about this initiative, that now we are replicating the impact in Kenya, Thailand, and Vietnam. We collaborated with different entity. It's Kenan Foundation, and Kenan is implementing it in those 3 countries. So it's also providing knowledge on STEM and energy transition. So you can see what is the impact that we aim to have in the next 2 years. It's 27,000 students to be reached. So just this is another example. Yeah, we have 1 minute. Yeah, okay, yeah, I only have this slide, so it's fine. And also, I think you are aware of Enactus. Enactus is active in Kazakhstan and Azerbaijan as well. So we have this collaboration with Enactus. Enactus is basically a student activity, and it educates youth on not only energy transition, but actually greening the economy in general. So it also supports them by specific courses in order to have innovative ideas that solve one of their environmental or community problems. So it's a 1-year-long program, and they are solving social issues. So it's on technical skills like carbon footprint, and also transversal skills like leadership, team collaboration, and so on. And as you can see here, Schneider, for example, is collaborating currently with over 10 countries. We're still working for Kazakhstan and Azerbaijan. It's not under the umbrella, but we introduced a battery challenge. So we actually supported youth on how, with mentorship program, on how to create a battery that is eco-friendly and also using solar energy and so on. So it's end by innovation competition in local and national and international level at the end. So if you want to know more and follow our activities, you can follow this LinkedIn Youth Impact Through Learning account. And if you have any questions, I would be honored to answer.
Thank you. Thank you, dear Marwa. Коллеги, уважаемые, есть ли вопросы? Вот я заметил один вопрос в чате. Я как раз вот этот вопрос тоже хотел задать. So, Marwa, there is a question in the chat. How can our university begin to study your program? I believe it's about your education and entrepreneurship program. And in your presentation, it stated that around 60 countries covered. And I saw in the map there is a Kazakhstan there from the Central Asian region. So my question and Irina's question is, what are the ways and opportunities for the other countries and certainly for other universities, institutions, NGO sectors to be part of this program? Can you please just guide us how we can join this program or apply for this program? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vakit, for the question. And actually, you can contact me directly, but the main idea is it's a collaboration a kind of collaboration where each have a role to play. So for example, if it's an NGO in Kazakhstan, it's well aware of the need of youth and what is the specific program that can be offered to them. So in this case, you reach out to Schneider asking them about what is the potential collaboration opportunity. So in this case, Schneider can collaborate. As I showed for Plan International example for DESFAIR, we contribute with the equipment and the solar energy curriculums. But on the other case, the NGO should be ready to provide this training and implement the program itself. So it's collaboration. And if you have a university, then in this case, the university will be responsible on the quality assurance of the program and to measuring the impact afterwards. So basically, it's not how you enroll in the program, but actually what we can all offer together in order to implement it. I believe also the university will be having a very important role in reaching out to the government in order to facilitate access. Because to be honest, in some cases, access of Schneider Electric, because Schneider is considered French multinational. So the access itself can be complicated to have it through just providing funding to the program itself. But the program will be led by university or NGO registered in Central Asia, then it will be easier and it will make more sense because we are not at Schneider leading the program, but we are supporting many of other partners.
Thank you. Thank you. What about the Enactus program? We have also Enactus present in our country, I mean, some Central Asian countries. Is there any way to collaborate with Enactus and with you under this umbrella, Enactus umbrella? Да, мне кажется, у Марвы технические моменты. Мы тогда продолжим, я думаю, мы вернемся еще к Марве, продолжим тогда наш вебинар согласно программе.
Bucket was on mute.
Я извиняюсь, да, прошу прощения, что-то. Следующим презентатором, спикером я хотел бы пригласить госпожу Замиру Найманбаеву. Она является национальным проектным координатором проекта Climate Change Education, UNITAR. И презентация на тему комплексный подход к повышению квалификации и осведомленности общественности об изменении климата зеленой экономики в Кыргызстане. Предварительные результаты по проекту образования в области изменения климата. Замира, вам слово.
Спасибо, Бакет. Я что-то не вижу презентацию свою.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Bucket, because my presentation in English, let me present it in English. But anyway, if you have some questions, please, you can address in Russian. So especially in the chat, or you can say about it. And I can answer also in Russian as well. Okay, good morning, good afternoon. My name is Zamira Naymanbayeva, and I am the National Coordinator for the Climate Change Education project in Kyrgyzstan. Thank you very much for your invitation, coordination, and all your efforts to organize this meeting. Indeed, it is an honor to be here today to share our holistic approach for addressing climate change and green economy education in Kyrgyzstan. Please, next slide. And today I will cover the following topics. What is the project about? Briefly present the program of priorities on climate change education, which is the main component of the project. How this program enhances skills for integrating climate change and green economy principles across various sectors. I will highlight the significance of the program approval. So I will talk how the official approval of the program sets the stage for the successful implementation of the program. Finally, I will highlight the key actions and strategies to achieve our goals on enhancing green skills in coming year. Please, next slide. So the project is implemented in partnership with the Ministry of Ministry of Natural Resources, Ecology and Technical Supervision of the Kyrgyz Republic and United Nations Institute for Training and Research, supported by NDC Partnership, UNDP, and the Ministry of Education and Science of the Kyrgyz Republic. The main objective of our project is to strengthen climate action through holistic approach to capacity building and public awareness for low carbon and climate resilient development. Please, next slide. And the project has three main components. First is update holistic program and plan on climate change education and green economy and awareness raising, which was launched in 2021. Then develop and integrate capacity building program by learning institutions in Kyrgyzstan, which focus on civil activities, women, youth, and private sector as key target audience. Then finally, develop and implement awareness raising activities. Please, next slide. The aim of the program is to develop a systematic approach for assessing capacity, prioritizing measures and implementing programs aimed at achieving national objectives in climate change and green economy education, with also focus on developing green skills. The program is structured around three core components. It's about analysis of legal frameworks and training needs, which evaluate existing policies and identify the gaps in skills and training related to climate change and green economy to create a robust foundation for action. Then integrate of climate and green economy issues into education by embedding these topics into formal and informal education system, providing capacity building opportunities for civil servants and actively engaging citizens. This component ensures the development of critical green skills such as renewable energy management, sustainable resource use, and climate resilient planning. Please, next slide. And aligned with this program, we developed the action plan for 5 years, which serves as a, let's say, comprehensive roadmap outlining targeted initiatives and programs to ensure the long-term development of green skills and sustainable practices across all sectors. By focusing on green skills, the program not only addressing immediate capacity building needs, but also equips the key target groups with the tools necessary to thrive, let's say, in sustainable and climate resilient economy. So here in the plan, I put that for the next year, we are planning to develop training of trainers on green skills, then with the aim to integrate to the curriculum of the universities. So next slide, please. And there are two key pathways for implementing this plan. First, wrapping up on a holistic approach of three key areas. It's education, embedding climate change and green economy topics into formal curricula, then vocational training and public awareness campaigns supporting by initiatives like UNCC Learn, and then training. It's upskilling civil servants and professionals to integrate climate resilient strategies into their work. So fostering sustainable practices across key sectors. And finally, it's community engagement, mobilizing citizens through awareness campaign, workshops, hackathons, or other activities. Please, next slide. I would like to highlight this approval of the document. As I mentioned, there are two key pathways for implementing this program and plan. The first one involves securing formal approval from two critical ministries, such as Ministry of Natural Resources, Ecology and Technical Supervision of the Kyrgyz Republic. And the second one is the Ministry of Education and Science of the Kyrgyz Republic. This collaborative approval ensures alignment with national policies and paves the way for effective implementation of the program and plan for 3 or 5 or more, even more years. And the second option actually of the formal approval is that program and plan will be submitted to the cabinet of the ministers of the Kyrgyz Republic for integration into national policy and to enforce of the implementation of the program and plan. And please, next slide. We plan to give 3 grants to the universities, which works on the capacity building as well on public awareness, which is targeted for civil servant and women and youth and private sector key audience. And these 3 universities or 2 universities will focus, will be as authors of let's say training of trainers, and as I mentioned, integration of green economy in the curriculum or in the modules of the universities is set up for this for the next year. And these modules is targeted also for civil servants. So the main idea that the university will be authors of this capacity building, of course, supported also by UNCC initiatives. Yes, and I think that's it. Next slide. It is thank you very much for your attention. Sorry, Bucket, I tried to be very short due to the time.
Нормально, всё
Not
нормально.
again.
Чом Рахмат, спасибо большое, Замира. Пожалуйста, коллеги, если есть вопросы, если нет, то на правах модератора можно тоже один быстрый вопрос. Замира, вы там в презентации упомянули о том, что будете интегрировать curriculum по изменению климата и по green economy formal education и vocational education написано было. Можно ли вкратце объяснить, как вы это собираетесь делать, кто будет этот curriculum разрабатывать и когда в планах это у вас есть?
Спасибо, спасибо большое за этот вопрос. И вот именно вот это у нас заложено в следующем году на 25-й год, поэтому мы выдаем 3 гранта университетам, которые будут отрабатывать. Но дело в том, что здесь один момент, есть университеты, они автономные, они сами выбирают, что интегрировать, а что нет. Вот в этом плане, поэтому мы и в целях мотивации хотим работать в сотрудничестве и вносить вот в это в их куррикулум. А что касается вообще в целом, также и формальное образование, да, которое вы спрашиваете, то это мы хотели бы через Министерство образования, которое отвечает за политику образования. Поэтому одна из идей для того, чтобы эта программа и план были утверждены между 2 основными ведомствами, как Министерство природных ресурсов, которое инициирует, да, этот проект, и Министерство образования, которое которое отвечает за политику образования, чтобы мы формально это утвердили и следовали этому плану, где как раз и заложена интеграция в куррикулум формального образования.
Благодарю. Уточнение быстрое. Вот гранты только университеты подают или могут vocational education, профтехобразование тоже могут подать на грант или только университеты?
Да, у нас здесь только заложены университеты. Первый университет это у нас он по-любому, который направлен на повышение квалификации только госслужащих. Это, возможно, будет те университеты, которые как бы чисто целенаправленно работают по вот этому направлению. А второй университет это, ну, это, возможно, мы еще решаем, это будет на тех соглашений, которые есть уже у министерств, или это будет как тендер. Но здесь один момент, что университеты именно должны работать по вот этим темам, что у них уже должна быть база. Есть у нас, например, альянс Авзур, да, несколько университетов объединенные, которые вот работают по зеленой экономике, по темам экологии, по изменению климата. И, скорее всего, конечно, все мы рады, если, допустим, это будет конкурс, то все имеют право подавать. Здесь нету такого ограничения, что, но в любом случае там будет приоритет те, которые работают чисто по вот этим направлениям.
Спасибо.
А вот, ну, точно отвечая на ваш вопрос, такие профтех учебные заведения, они пока не предусмотрены вот в этом отборе.
Спасибо. Пожалуйста, Ромейн, у вас вопрос и еще в чате один вопрос. Спасибо.
Thank you. I'm going to speak in English. Zamira, thank you very much for this presentation. I found it very insightful. I was particularly interested in the part where you managed to get different institutions to collaborate and work together for the same goal. I wanted to understand a little bit more as you entered this work. What did you find were the main challenges in getting people to work together? And ideally, some of the solutions that you have implemented too. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. It is a nice question, and actually, I was also thinking about your results and mentioned this untrust to the government or to the state agencies on this, which come from you. What the challenges? Actually, working with the, for example, for the first stage, we tried to gather people from the state agencies, from the schools, from the universities. And it is really difficult to gather people, especially from the state agencies, because they're so busy. They have so many projects, and sometimes they don't have any trust in the projects, and they're like losing their hope or enthusiasm, we say in Russian. I think it's the same in English.
Yeah, it works.
Yes, and there is always a conflict between state agencies because they're like they have different interests. So they have like it looks that we are working for one goal, but anyway, there are so many opinions, visions on the policy, and especially it's also difficult to collect or gather people on the same time. Because everybody is busy, even at school level, even at university level. And this climate change, especially with these COP initiatives, like everybody speaks about green economy, everybody speaks about climate change, but everybody is busy. But however, at the same time, they need explanation or understanding, comprehensive understanding, what is climate change, what is green economy, how they could connect with each other, how what is green economy, and especially under the education or like education plus climate change in like on the implementation level, it is always difficult.
But so how did you manage? Because you
We
were
just
successful.
Well, based actually, one of the best example for me, based on my observation, was that the Ministry of Natural Resources were very active in it. So, for example, they were involved in invitation. They were very involved in discussion. So it should be like, we call it in Russian voля or power. Bucket, help me.
Will, political will.
Will, yes, will to do that. So in this case, we were very happy to have these people in the Ministry of Natural Resources. But as well, we also were happy to have such kind of people at the Ministry of Education, because they wanted to do a lot, but they're not so many. That like lack of people, lack of time. It's one of the challenge. But when they have this will, sometimes it's possible to get some results.
Спасибо.
Thank you.
I just
Thank
share
you
with
very
my
much.
personal
Yeah, that's great. Thank
observation.
you very much. Keep up the good work.
Тамира, такой, спасибо. Быстрый вопрос. Вот у нас по времени сейчас чуть не успеваем. Быстрый вопрос. Вот Ирина Вакуленко задает вопрос, есть ли у вас рабочие какие-то курсы, working courses for today? Какие-то курсы вы сейчас в рамках вашей программы ведете или нет еще?
Сейчас нет, но у нас на следующий год мы будем эти курсы отрабатывать, но эти курсы будет отрабатывать университеты, да, допустим, которые мы будем выдавать гранты. То есть они будут сами авторами этого.
Окей. Спасибо.
You're welcome. Спасибо большое.
Bakit, we cannot hear you.
Sorry, I'm very sorry. Следующий спикер, госпожа Хейзел Израиль. Я с удовольствием ее хотел бы представить вам. Она является экспертом в области педагогики и соавтором инструмента руководства Scaffold. Для сведения, Scaffold имплементируется в рамках более большой программы Дарья в Центральной Азии. Уже почти несколько месяцев, как Scaffold начал имплементироваться, и Хейзел расскажет про эту программу. Пожалуйста, Хейзел, floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bakit. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you also for the wonderful presentations we have heard so far. Very interesting, very powerful, and very compelling. And there were many comments and questions in the chat about how can we embed these skills into our curriculum? How can we make these skills more explicit in our delivery? You know, it's clear that these are imperative and essential skills. So I'm going to talk to you about some work we've been doing and a fabulous new tool developed by ETF called Scaffold. Okay, so I'm here to represent Bantony Education, a non-profit based in Belgium. And we were founded about 5 years ago, working mostly with the Entrecomp framework that you can see here, the flower on my screen there. And this is the European Key Competence Framework for Entrepreneurship and Innovation. We happen to believe that these are actually life skills, and more universities, colleges and schools across the United Kingdom are adopting Entrecomp as the construct for employability. These increasingly are recognized as the competences needed to thrive and possibly survive in the future. So this is Entrecomp, and today my presentation will be about Scaffold, which also includes GreenComp, to highlight the theme of the webinar this morning. So, as I mentioned, we began our work with Entrecomp, and increasingly over the last couple of years, we are finding that we need to work these competence frameworks together. So there are 4 European key competence frameworks. There's Entrecomp, as I mentioned. There's GreenComp, of which I hope you are aware, DigComp and LifeComp. So more and more, we need to use these competence frameworks together, which can become quite complex and quite tricky. And that leads me to the development of the scaffold tool. So the scaffold tool was created initially to support teachers to design learning which integrates these key competence frameworks across the curriculum, multidisciplinary applications, but also to be able to use these frameworks together. How can we more easily integrate GreenComp with EntreComp, GreenComp with DigComp, EntreComp and GreenComp? So the reason for this is because when we talk about the green and digital transitions, both of these transitions will require innovation. We will need to find new ways to do things to build a new, more sustainable world. And so that's the sort of purpose of Scaffold. That's what it's all about. So what is it then? It's a deck of cards. I'm trying to show you them here now. And we all spend so much time on screen that it feels really good to have something that you can hold in your hand. And also the fact that it's a deck of cards makes it feel more fun, makes it feel more manageable. So Scaffold then is a deck of 102 cards created for educators from all levels and phases of education. So we have used Scaffold, for example, with primary teachers, even in the early years for very, very little children, but also through secondary education, vocational education, and higher education. And there's a growing number of universities, particularly in the United Kingdom, who are using Scaffold and these key competence frameworks for employability purposes. So these cards, then, it's really nice. Let me just make sure I can show you. It's really nice. You can shuffle them, pick one, pick two. They're very versatile, very flexible. And you can apply these cards to both formal and non-formal learning, any subject area, any form of learning. So you can use the cards to design one task within a lesson, or a whole lesson, or even a whole module, or a whole program or course. And as I mentioned, the purpose of these cards then is to support educators to integrate and combine multiple key competences into the learning process, to embed this explicit competence development across the curriculum and across the learner experience. So it's also straddling formal and non-formal, the curriculum and extracurricular learning. So Scaffold cards then are divided into 5 groups of cards. So the first sort of card type is the settings card. And these are to prompt the educators to think about the shape of the lesson, define the big picture. What's the objective of the learning? Who are the learners? What do they need? Have they any specific additional learning needs? What sort of learning environment is required? How long is the learning going to be? What resources will be needed? All very standard, usual aspects of planning any sort of learning experience. So those are the settings cards. And then, so that sort of sets the scene, creates the bigger picture and context for the learners. So the second type of card then are the planning cards. And these planning cards sort of take an educator through the process of decision making in planning learning to create a canvas that guides teachers in designing these activities to structure the learning. They are also numbered so that they can help the educator take a logical process through those decisions. And they prompt action. So they help the teacher decide how to teach, how to implement, and how to select the competences, teaching methods, and assessment methods they will want to use. Now then, so we have the Competence cards then are the third type of card in the deck. And these competence cards represent the 4 European key competence frameworks, which I've already mentioned: LifeComp, GreenComp, DigComp, and EntreComp. And each competence card is cross-referenced to other competencies in the deck. So, for example, if a teacher is focusing on EntreComp and has selected to focus on 2 or 3 of the competencies from the EntreComp framework, then on the cards there are prompts to create links to other cards which work very well with that competence. So if an educator is less familiar with, for example, GreenComp or DigComp, they are supported then to identify cards from other frameworks which enhance or synergize with the learning plan. So it makes it easy for teachers and educators to integrate and embed competencies from across the frameworks. So there are these signposts to create those links. Also, alongside the 4 key competence frameworks, we have transversal competence cards. And these are the broader sort of competence headings. And these are perhaps sometimes easier for the less experienced educator to get into the competence frameworks. So it's like communication, critical thinking, creativity. You know, they're sort of very broad headings, which are perhaps for some educators more recognizable and a nice way into the detail and the competencies of the other frameworks. Also, alongside these cross-references and these links, there are suggestions for the teacher on how to develop the competence, some high-level top tips in terms of the competence use. So these 7 transversal competence cards then represent those competencies that cut across the European frameworks and help educators to navigate and harmonize the competencies of the framework. The 4th type of card then are the teaching methods. And these 7 cards provide some options or a library of pedagogical approaches, which have been proven to be very effective in developing the competencies we are talking about. So these 7 teaching methods cards can be used in developing key competencies in an integrated way. They can prompt and promote the selection of appropriate teaching methods and provide practical guidance on how to put this method into action. So the steps an educator needs to take to implement that particular teaching method. Alongside these teaching methods then, there's the 5th type of card, which are the assessment methods. And again, we have selected 7 assessment methods, particularly useful when thinking about competence development. And these assessment cards can be used for diagnostic assessment, formative assessment, or summative assessment, and can help the teacher or educator to define that entry level competence of the learner. So where were they at the beginning of the activity? Where are they at the end of the activity? To try to capture that progress and that development made in the focused competencies. So these assessment methods can be used at the beginning of the learning activity or experience, during or afterwards. And I think I've put in the chat, I'll double check afterwards, I've shared with you a link to the ETF page where there is more information about the scaffold deck. There are versions of the deck that you can print out locally, so you could even get started using these cards today following this webinar. Print yourself off a deck, and alongside that is a full guide which describes more activities and more ways that you can use the cards and get the best benefit out. And for those of you less familiar with the key competence frameworks, what's particularly useful about them is that they provide agreed definitions of what these competencies are. It saves lots of time in terms of collaboration, which is great. And you can use them at different sort of levels of detail, if you
2
like.
more minutes, Hazel.
Okay, thank you, Bakit. So what we find most useful probably about EntreComp is not only does it take you through the whole journey from having an idea into action to create impact in the real world, but you also have something like 442 learning outcomes. That is a library of learning outcomes. So you can select very specific articulations of objectives that you are hoping that your learners will achieve. And it helps support more consistent assessment. And so that's the learning outcomes, but also I think there's the notion of progression. So you can see where a learner is, what came before, what they need to do next. So that definition of progression is available across all of the frameworks. So if you're interested in a particular framework, I would recommend going to the website of that particular framework, because all the information you need will be there. And the nice thing about using these frameworks also is that there are many, many people using them with whom you can collaborate, which is great. But also it makes sure there are many, many resources available online in lots of different languages, in terms of activities, toolkits, assessments. But the scaffold deck helps to bring all of those together so that you can integrate and embed all the key competencies, including GreenComp, across the curriculum. So it's very useful for that. And people are finding it very useful, and it's quite an exciting tool in that respect, because educators have long struggled with embedding explicit development of these competencies across their work. So thank you very much. I hope I haven't exceeded my time, but if anyone has any questions, please, happy to answer.
Thanks a lot, Hazel. Very, very interesting, very insightful. Thank you very much. Да, у нас есть вопрос. Пожалуйста, Ромейн, ваш вопрос.
Yes, I'm turning on my video. Yeah, there it is. No. Okay, so thank you very much. I happen to be aware of this tool because we've used it already, and I just wanted to complement Hazel's presentation by saying that ETF has also translated this entire tool into Russian. So if there's any participants here who wish to receive a copy, please let us know and we can get one sent over to you. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Romain. That's fabulous to know. That's really great. Thank you.
Спасибо, Ромейн. Мне кажется, как раз к месту надо добавить, что Scaffold уже на нескольких языках Центральной Азии. У нас по Центральной Азии уже очень успешно используются эти инструменты. И у меня в качестве модератора хотел бы тоже задать вопрос. И Хейзел один вопрос, и Андрею мы не успели задать. У меня тоже был один вопрос. Хейзел, вот у нас сейчас по Центральной Азии обучились инструментам Scaffold очень много педагогов и учителей. Они уже на практике начали применять это в своих учебных заведениях. В перспективе могут ли эти учителя, педагоги, скажем, уже самостоятельно создать какую-то, скажем, ассоциацию, да, центральноазиатскую, там, я не знаю, и самостоятельно уже дальше продвигать эти инструменты, обучать этим инструментам других учителей со своих стран, из других стран. Вообще такое возможно, потому что скаффолд когда-то же закончится, имеется в виду финансирование программы. А вот после финансирования... Ага.
Thank you very much for the question, Bakit. I would very enthusiastically say yes, yes, yes. And that is one of the good things about the tool. It's very freely available. And the deck of cards enables educators to collaborate very easily together. You can lay the cards out on a table. You can do planning as a team. But anybody is invited to share their experiences, to explore the cards together. I would urge and encourage everybody to get involved and have a go. Try using it alone, try using it together. It's a very versatile and fun tool to use. So I would say definitely.
Thank you very much, Лиза. И у меня один вопрос тоже, вот Андрею я не успел задать тогда. Андрей, если вы еще с нами, такой вопрос, вот вы в своих исследованиях такие хорошие инструменты по поведенческой практике использовали, и принимая во внимание энергетическую безопасность, вопросы энергетической безопасности, вопросы нехватки углеводородных запасов в Восточной Европе в особенности. Вы собираетесь ли, в планах есть какие-то проведение каких-то исследований именно в странах Восточной Европы?
Ну, если вопрос ко мне, то нет, мы не планируем на данный момент.
Не планируем, окей.
Не планируем. Мы
Хорошо.
на 100% сейчас сосредоточены на работе в стране.
Спасибо. Коллеги, мы уже, в принципе, завершаем. Очень мало времени остается. Я, наверное, если больше нет вопросов, передам слово Кристиане. Пожалуйста, Кристиане, за ваши завершающие ремарки.
Thank you. Thank you, Bakit. Thank you, all the speakers. Thank you, all the participants for being with us today. It was, it was extremely more than informative, the webinar today. We have really received such high quality information and knowledge. We heard about experience and methodologies. It was really an amazing series of contributions today. As I have mentioned, we are going to post in the open space all the materials from the webinar today. Just let me spend a few words to wrap up regarding the key takeaways that I take from today. It's so many. I made I took a number of notes from the discussion, but just let me summarize the key ones. First, everyone has a role to play in this shift to a green economy. Secondly, twin transition needs to be just, not to leave anyone behind, as it was mentioned several times during the presentation today. For this reason, education institutions need to be ready, need to be equipped to prepare students for the green jobs that the labor market needs. So it's education institutions need to be ready, also for providing green reskilling and upskilling, because this is key to prepare the workforce to meet the needs of a labor market. So everybody needs green skills, not only the new entrants in the labor market. And then I take it from Marva that the green gaps can turn from a challenge to an opportunity, because there are so many job positions in the green economy to be filled in. And last but not least, again, keywords here is networks, partnerships, building trust, which are key to make the green transition a success, which engages different levels, so including the policy level. These are the key takeaways from my side. I don't want to take too long on it. We look forward to continuing the activities with a network next year. I thank our moderator Bakit for the great work in coordinating the inputs today. We will still have one webinar of a Skills Lab Network next week. It will be on the 10th of December next week, and we will talk about the needs of female needs. So female not in education, employment or training. Hope to see you on the webinar next week. I wish you a nice day and thanks a lot to everyone. Speaker, participants, Ada from our contractor, the interpreters, thanks a lot so much.
Спасибо, спасибо всем, хорошего дня, всем спикерам большое
Спасибо. Спасибо большое.
Почту Мухаммеду большое спасибо. Всем хорошего дня.
Thank you.
Thank you.